If you want to be more efficient and effective while experiencing more inner peace, then working on the core of your issues instead of putting on a Band-Aid is vital. Welcome to LifePix University podcast. I'm your host, Esty Rapport, and here to help you improve your 28 cognitive functions, the 28 things that make up thinking. In each episode, we'll discuss a real-life challenge, why you might be struggling with it, and give you practical strategies so all areas of your life will improve. What did you call that item? What label did you give it? Does it make sense? All that is coming up next on the LifePix University podcast, episode 392. But first, which one of your cognitive functions are the strongest? And which ones need some improvement? Find out by taking the cognitive function assessment at lifepixuniversity.com/CF. That's LifePix, P-I-X, university.com/CF for cognitive functions, thinking skills. For today's real life challenge, imagine you are trying to explain to a potential client how your business can help them grow theirs, but you can't find the right words. You see they're losing interest and you wish you had a better way to explain it. You might be struggling with this if you have the cognitive deficiency, a weak thinking skill of using labels. Labeling is about understanding and using correct labels for objects, ideas, or whatever you're talking about. Labels allow our brains to organize information, understand what others are saying, express yourself, and even do higher order thinking. So to understand the importance of this, let me share with you a quick story. Back in the days when I was working with kids, before I worked with entrepreneurs, I had a 10-year-old boy who would forget whatever you told him by the time you got up to the next sentence. So if you were telling him a story, by the time you got up to sentence number 2, he forgot sentence number 1. Unlike most people thought, he didn't have a memory issue. Instead, he struggled with this cognitive function of labels. You see, in his brain, there were a whole bunch of pictures, a whole bunch of mush of things that he heard and saw and took in, but he had no names for any of them. So anytime you told him something, another picture went into that mush. His brain just saw another bit of blob. There was no way he could remember it, organize it, or tell you back what you just said. He couldn't understand anything because it just went into his mush of everything he ever saw in his life. Through mediation, the process of asking questions, we did special exercises to help him improve this cognitive function. And within 2 weeks, he was able to follow what the teacher said, was able to understand like everyone else, and started doing really, really well because he wasn't stupid. A lot of his other cognitive functions were really strong, but this one was stopping him, that it made him look dumb when he really, really wasn't. Now, you might not be struggling with labeling on this extreme, but more people than not have room for improvement on this cognitive function. So how do we get better at labeling? Here are 3 ways to help you get started. Number 1, the words this, that, it should be replaced with the right label. Listen to what you are saying and see if you can correct it. Put this on the table becomes put the plate on the table, right? So instead of saying over there or whatever, give it the label to what it is. Number 2, this week, give yourself 5 minutes every day to simply walk around your house or a park, go around with your kids outside for a drive, and label all the items around you. Just point to the items and say what they're called out loud. This will help your brain get started on calling things the way they are. Say it out loud for extra reinforcement. Number 3, this one is a fun one. If there are no labels for something, make it up yourself. There's no right or wrong about labels as long as everyone understand them, right? Like, who decided to call a computer a computer? I honestly don't know. Maybe I should do some research on that. But because we all know what a computer is, it could be called whatever we want. But if the person who called it a computer would have decided to call it a phone, we would have called it a phone instead of a computer, right? So as long as we all agree to it, it could be called whatever you want. So if you don't know what the label to something is, if everyone who you talk to about it understands your label, that's okay. This is especially true for if you have like these weird or fun rituals, habits, or activities that you do with your family that don't really have a name. Like we just do this thing and we just do it, but it's what's this thing, right? So give it a label, come up with something fun, come up with something interesting, and it will help you improve this cognitive functions. One more thing, we label objects and ideas, not people. Today, we spoke about the importance of labeling and 3 ways you can begin to improve it. Number 1, remove the words this, like, that, whatever from your vocabulary and instead replace them with labels. Number 2, give yourself 5 minutes each day this week to label random items in your house. And number 3, when there's no labels, create one. Your challenge this week is to pick one or all 3 of the things that we spoke about and begin improving your cognitive function of labels. Have an awesome rest of your day, and I will see you next week.
That's all for this episode of the Life Kicks University podcast. If you enjoyed it, please share it with 2 of your family and friends so they too can gain from it, and you'll be helping us reach our goal of 1 million downloads by the end of 2025. Have an awesome rest of your day and grow those dendrites.